Hey everyone, it's Michael and
Matt
and
Ruben
from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au, bringing you all the sicknesses that you can imagine
You
right
not
here in the
read about
studio.
it, yeah. Luckily we're surrounded by silver with all of its antibacterial properties.
That's right.
I don't think it's I don't think it's even just you two. I think it's hit Melbourne as a whole lately. Different things obviously, but yeah, I think Melbourne in general is feeling a little bit sick at the moment. So
My whole
something is
family's
going
copped
around.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not alone in having a bit of a bumpy week, you might say.
My family's pretty much over it, but it's left me with horrendous asthma.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Like a residual thing.
Yeah, I can barely breathe, so it's going to be interesting.
We'll aim for short sentences.
Well, and potentially a shorter stream as well. We might finish off that little bit earlier. So we'll go for quality, not quantity on this one.
Winton. Yes. So sorry, Rubes, I interrupted you there. So we're looking at only quote unquote running for an hour. So we're going to try and pull up stumps at about 3:30 Melbourne time today. And they're almost part of the team these days, aren't they? Part of the family is out at Winton by the look of it.
Where's Winton? What's Winton?
Out in outback Queensland.
Oh, cool.
And it's famous for dinosaurs and
Really?
Qantas 747s.
Unreal. Two vastly different items.
Yeah, opposite ends of the timescale.
Cool.
But
With a photo inbound for you on a Qantas plane, Michael.
oh,
Out at
excellent.
Long Reach.
I've been out to that one a couple of times actually. It was really interesting. Probably to no one else but me.
Yeah. How long did it take to get on aviation?
So flying that thing in there, they could fly it in with special permission. It was a major drama flying it in there. It can never, ever, ever fly out of there.
So it's just parked
It's
indefinitely.
parked. Even if they get the engines all back operational, the whole box and dice, you couldn't fly it out of there.
Why? Not enough runway?
Yeah,
Or
not enough runway.
you couldn't slingshot it out, tie
No.
it to another plane, off you go?
No, can't get it. It's there forever.
Unreal.
So useless piece of information.
Well, the more you know.
It took us about, I think, 10 seconds, Matt, for people to identify that you aren't wearing your glasses today, and a couple of theories that potentially it's so you won't be able to see the stream comments.
Absolutely. It's such a good excuse. And I flagged this with the lads. I went into the cafe where I get my morning coffee, and the first thing the barista said was, "Matt, you look so sick and unwell." And I said, "Well, it's wonderful."
You look great.
So you figure taking your glasses off will hide that?
Well, yeah. Well, it allowed her. Well, she could see me clearly and thought I looked terrible, so I was flattered by that. Contacts are not on my shopping list moving forward. But here we are. So I have forgotten my glasses, but I can see. What people don't see is my view is obstructed regardless by all these cameras. So I'll do my best
Must
anyway.
be like 5 cameras in here.
Yeah, it's out of control. It's
it's
getting
only
worse.
I am exaggerating slightly, but I didn't know where to look when
I'm
we
trying
first
to-
kicked off.
Trying to push for another one, but it is what it is.
This is because we're on multiple platforms now. Is that true?
We are also streaming on Instagram as well as Facebook live
All
as
right.
well.
So if you prefer those,
But not
YouTube's
X.
sort of the home. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're the other two alternatives that we're on at the moment.
You're
That's
picking
cool.
favourites, are you?
And we're also on
Spotify.
Spotify.
I was going to say
Yeah.
Google Podcast as well, but I think they've announced they're closing that. Google are just shutting some things down.
Fair enough.
That's one of them. Which platform has the most viewers? Definitely YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Hands down YouTube at this stage.
where it all began.
Yeah.
Now, a question from Wombat there in regards to the lunar buybacks, which have been quite popular. And there were some questions about this last week, but you weren't here, Michael. So I think
was
we
not.
kind of dodged.
Yeah.
Well, not even dodged. We didn't know the answer to it. So what's the go with
My
the
understanding, look, to be completely honest to everyone, I haven't been in all week. I've been crook as a dog, so I haven't been able to do much. But my understanding is the first batch are here and nailed down, and we're waiting for the second batch to clear customs. So hopefully within the fortnight, they're online and available. So
are they just going offline, or are we going to get a lead in? Are you going to do an unboxing, or what's
no, we'll absolutely do an unboxing.
Yeah.
For a start, I don't actually know completely what's in there. I know some things, but I don't know completely what's in there. So it'll be a bit of a mystery box for us doing the unboxing, and then we'll release them to line. So,
Cool.
Yeah, and the store. People are coming into the store. We'll certainly put some aside for the store as well. I'll try not to cough into the microphone.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm running out of oxygen.
I think it'll be one of those. I'm a little bit nervous about it, if I'm completely honest, because I'm really excited for the products coming through. I think there's going to be a lot that are very, very popular, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how long they hang around. Because this, when someone comes through the store and says, "Hey, I'd like to get involved in collecting the Lunar series," it's like, well, hey, we've got the current one, maybe one or two previous, but if you want anything for right at the start of Series 3 or back into Series 2, it's like, sorry, secondhand market's the place you go. So I think it'll be a bit of a rush, even with a presumed higher premium. We'll see.
Look, and also there are some 1 ounces in there, but it's not made up of all 1 ounces. There's everything from the half ounce through to the kilo in size and everything in between. So don't come in thinking, I'll get the 1 ounce and that's it sort of thing. This is an opportunity to get all sorts of other sizes as well to fill those niche holes. Yeah. And that's actually, I think if it had been all 1 ounces, I might not have picked it up. I don't know, I probably would have.
You definitely would have.
Yeah. But it was the fact that particularly the 10 ounce, but it was the fact that it had all these other sizes in it was one of the main reasons I grabbed it, because it's really unusual to see any form of numbers of any of the other sizes particularly. So especially,
I'm making a big assumption here. I'm assuming the quality isn't horrendous, which is generally, I don't know why that is. A lot of the old Series 1 and 2 Lunars that I've seen, the capsules have been a bit scratched and dinged up. I don't know what kind of...
Remember, they're 20 years old.
What are people doing with them, though? Are people just playing, like, 2 up at the pub or something with them? Like, some of these capsules have been obliterated. I don't understand. Different strokes for different folks. Do whatever you want with your stack, but it's sort of... It breaks my heart a little each time I see an interesting old Lunar coin come through. But
I think it's potentially because we see the ones that that people have been willing to get rid of.
I guess you're right. Yeah,
the ones that are pristine, that have been kept in a safe. They're
still being treasured as they should be.
They're either still being treasured or they're then being sold for quite a significant premium for being a mint example of that particular coin.
You've also got the older capsules, particularly with Series 1, but I can't swear to this, but I think they bled into Series 2 as well. And they were not airtight. So you've also got the toning and all that sort of stuff that comes with the Series 1.
Which coins occasionally can look nice if it's, even and consistent. Yeah, it has a bit of a cool effect.
I'm becoming more... I'm finding myself actively chasing toned coins.
Yeah.
Whereas even 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said that.
Yep.
But I'm
viewed as an imperfection.
Yeah, I really like the toning and I like the potential that it's got.
Yeah.
And the character that it adds. So I'm becoming more of a fan of toned coins than pristine coins, to be honest.
Evolution of the collector.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll change again in a couple of years, don't stress.
Yeah, because you'll get one that it's toned the way that you didn't want it to go, and then no, it's good. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah. I love the old toning.
Speaking on that Lunar release, what do you think the odds are of staggering the release?
No, because it's too hard.
Yeah, you got to go in boots and all.
Yeah. I don't know. This is always the problem, because you have people that say, can't it be released after 5 o'clock because I'm at work? Can't you release it before 5 o'clock because I work night shift? Can you release it on a weekend? Can you release it during the week? Can you just release this one? Can you release that?
Well, yeah, but
Can you hold off this one? Can you put it... you end up tying yourself in knots because everyone's got a different requirement.
But I guess that's the advantage of the stagger, is that you then, you'll then hit a couple
you release
of those
the rabbit
groups.
in the evening, and I needed the ox to be released in the evening, not the rabbit, and it just becomes too hard. And at the end of the day, and I hate to sound like this, but at the end of the day, we're a business. You've got to kind of say, well, we're here to make a profit. Yeah, we're here to provide a service to the Bullion Now family and community. Absolutely, 110%. But we're also here to make a profit. And if I have to pay someone to sort all that out and list all during the evening, and it obliterates anything that we would have made out of it. So, look, hopefully there's enough there of what you want that it'll still be for sale. It's not the type of thing that will... Ruben's going to kill me. It's not the type of thing that will sell out instantly. There will be
I want you to look right into the lens as you say that, because I think it absolutely will.
Yeah, I think you probably... what we might need is like a countdown. So you can take the afternoon off work, circle it in your calendar, no excuses. Website will crash.
Yeah, I hope
see
not.
what happens.
And and look, I'm not against limits. We've actually done that many times before, but the problem with limited releases or limited per customers is always that, like we quite frequently, and this is not a complaint, okay, because I know people take it this way, but we don't usually make money if somebody buys one. You need people to buy several to make up for the staff time and all that sort of stuff that goes into preparing things. So there is also a cost to us limiting it to one per person that we need to be very conscious of as well. So I'm not saying we won't. And in fact, we probably will. Look, the problem is I also don't know the numbers that are arriving yet. I know the bill that I got and the total weight, but I don't know if there's 2 of these or 200 of these. So it'll really depend on, the numbers that come in as well. If there's only 2 of them, we absolutely might do that. If there's 200 of them, we'll probably make it open for everyone.
Perfect. That'd be good.
Comment from Roddy there. Hey fellas, I got my 125th anniversary gilded coin and the capsule is dodgy up the top. Looking at Facebook, there appears to be quite a few with the same issue. Did you happen to notice if it was on all of them? Is it something I don't particularly remember?
Dodgy how? What's the...
I was going to say the same thing. And which metal are we talking about?
The gilded one they've said there. So presumably the silver...
Sorry, if it's gilded, yeah.
Yeah, the silver one with the gold gilding.
If it's at all dodgy, I would be contacting Perth Mint and getting them to replace it. They're pretty good like that. They'll ask for photos, but other than that, they're very, very good at replacing capsules and that sort of stuff.
That seems odd to me that would even happen in the first instance with the level of quality control. Maybe in transit or something, like the capsule may have.
So it's a bit hard without a photo.
We're on the whiteboard here, just hypothesizing.
They say they'll send a photo through to live. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
Feel free to send that through. Why do you think a lot of people who are interested in precious metals are also somewhat preppers? Is it a lack of trust in government? What would you pin it down to? I think it is that concept of being prepared, and that carries through not only to food and water and things like that, but also your financial security. And whether it's directly linked, I think it's still that mental preparedness.
Hey, we're in Texas.
Are we?
We're in Texas.
Unreal.
I'd say. Are you viewed by someone, but I can't pronounce the name. So, but welcome. Look, I think I actually go slightly against the grain with this one. I think everyone has a natural prepping bias. Even my wife, who's definitely a non-prepper, has, like, every so often she'll go, "Oh, we should stock up on, these sorts of things just in case," or maybe she just hangs around me too much, but
Well, I was going to say, I know plenty of people like that, but I would say they still have some of those tendencies. I know people that will not even, when they need something, they will go down to the supermarket, they will pay full price, they won't look for things on special. There's zero bones in their body that think that way. It's just I'll go get it when I need it.
But I think I think everyone has a tendency that way.
Yeah. I think it's similar to everyone having an interest in things like... I'll get in frame.
Yeah.
With something like the show... What's it called? Porn Stars. With the buying and selling of antiquities and things like that. Everyone has... And like Antiques Roadshow, right? Everyone has that interesting old item that was inherited and things like that. I think similarly... Most people that I've spoken to that have no interest in stacking whatsoever once you start talking about it, it almost evokes something that it's sort of dormant until you start talking about it. Exactly. Yeah. It is that thing of almost when you break it down to the fundamentals, it's the shiny thing that's interesting and has that, like we've always said, it has thousands of years of human history behind it. It's something that is almost baked into human DNA. And then it sort of escalates from there. And I think, funnily enough, I totally agree that it seems to be, well, I guess in my opinion, somewhere in all of us in some capacity. And even as you say, Ruben, there are those people that have no interest whatsoever in being prepared for anything and things like that. But once they get an ounce of silver or something like that, they think, there's something about it. I like having that. I might get another one, a different design. And then next thing you know, You're at the
watching
Bullion
a
Now
live
live
stream.
channel, and
That's
it's all,
Yeah.
it's all happening.
Having said that, and I firmly believe what I just said, I think also that once you start allowing that prepper seed to grow in you, invariably you end up in a bullion conversation. So I would argue, is it a chicken or egg thing? Are they a prepper beforehand and then they buy bullion, or do bullion people, are bullion people preppers? So I think there's a bit of both sides of it.
Yep.
That once you start feeding that, you will end up in bullion in some form.
Yep. Yeah, because it's just another component of it. That's like saying, "Oh, I'm really passionate about cars. Don't really care for engines, though.
Yeah,
I don't really care for tires."
Yeah.
It's sort of invariably that will crop up as part of the conversation.
Yeah. But I mean, you watch kids; they collect things.
Yeah,
there's
my
that
daughter collects
natural-
rocks.
Yeah. But there's that natural stacking there of I want to collect it, I want to save it for a rainy day. And
Yep.
I think that's inherent in all of us.
Yeah. That was a good question. I like that one.
It's interesting, Roddy's talking there about the gilded quality control and things like that, because it was actually one of the coins that we got to see at the Mint kind of going out, and I was actually quite surprised at the amount that they had set aside as ones that didn't pass the test, and we had to look real close
I
to
couldn't
actually
find it on a lot of them.
Yeah. So
I was amazed.
that's still a video that's hopefully coming, but the it surprises me to know that because of how strict we saw that they were with it. I guess maybe the capsule department is
I was just going to say the same thing.
Is a different thing. Yeah,
you may find that there is less quality control on the capsule because the capsule's not the coin.
That's not produced.
Well, I wonder if
them
it's
in the
perhaps
same
not
way.
even the quality component, but in transit. So if you have something that's been encapsulated, and then it's within a box, within another box, it gets dropped and suddenly stops, and the capsule comes apart ever so slightly. So I wonder if there's perhaps opportunity there for them to change up the capsules. I don't know the twist ones that funnily enough, the Royal Mint used on their proof coins. The twist ones were quite good in my experience. So they
were good so long as you didn't need to open them.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a proof coin, mate. We're not going to open it anyway.
Yeah, that works really well until you have to test its veracity.
Yeah. Well, it's a story for another day.
Yeah, that's right.
Pros and cons, either way.
Not the first time people have seen me in the back room with a hammer and a ram coin trying to get the flaming thing out of the capsule.
Pop it in the safe door, sorts it straight out.
I wish that hadn't been used at least once before to make something out. Alan Williams there. Hi guys.
Yeah, I highlighted the same one.
Just carrying on from last week's conversation, I traded my old Jag for 300 gram bars. I'm assuming gold. Worked well and is a great way to do business. Using physical gold is doable. There you go.
Oh, excellent.
I would love to get together a yellow pages, a list of tradies and businesses and that sort of stuff that will accept payment in gold,
The
silver
and gold pages.
Yes, that's
there
right.
it is.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a winner. I mean, I've talked many times on camera about the fact that we've paid Sparkies and butchers and all that sort of stuff.
We got talking about honey last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where things are paid for in precious metals. And a lot of, there used to be a cafe near us in this building here that would take precious metals for coffee and that sort of stuff. Lots of people will do it, and it amazes me how many will do it once you start asking the question. Now, admittedly, it's probably an easier lead-in for me than from your average person because invariably somebody says, what do you do? Oh, I'm a bullion dealer. Oh, I've always been interested. Oh, interesting gold, are you? How would you like payment in gold instead of a bank transfer? Absolutely, that's a great idea.
Did you want to commit to that? Do you want to get people to send through some details to?
Not today.
Okay.
But if you want to ping me on it later this year, I think it'd be a great thing to get together, and I think it would be well received by the community overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me, but even down to, and this is not the first time I've heard of cars being swapped for bullion.
Yep.
Those types of things. It happens more often than you would expect.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So good story there, mate. Glad you shared it with us.
Yeah, no, we love to hear about stuff like that, and that's
Yeah,
it.
for
Hopefully,
sure.
we'd hear more of those stories with a bit more of an official thing thrown together. So stay tuned on that front. I think it could be interesting.
Don't have great southern land allocations yet.
Yeah, I know that's one that's been kind of
Hot
asked
topic,
about quite a
yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Also, some people asking if we know anything about the anniversary sovereign.
Yes, I've seen it. Looks good. It's different. I don't know. I'm hanging out to show Matt. Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
What's your thoughts? Yeah, I knew you were going to go
Yeah.
one way or the other. Like,
Nah.
this is great because it's a celebration, a new play on it
Yeah,
for this
they've
celebration.
exactly. They've listened to what I'm always harking on about. I want something different.
They just
I
haven't
saw
executed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me a background. Give me more. Give me more. Yeah, give me more. I don't know. It's not. It's not it for me personally. That's
Yeah.
one person's taste though. Some people may love it. I'm sure plenty of people will love it, but for me,
Didn't grab you?
nah.
Yeah, I got to agree. But the trouble is, I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah, I think I must be as well. Because seeing that depiction, I thought it's objectively the artistry is great, but
Yes.
for what it is depicting, I thought, nah, it's a classic. It's a modern take on a classic, which I guess is always going to be.
Which is what you keep asking for.
Yeah, it's the thing, right? Be careful what you wish for, because I got it and. I don't know. I'm hard work, but I feel like that's a good representation of the collecting community. We can be incredibly hard work because you get what someone asks for something, they do it. We find a way to complain, find a way around it to still have an issue. So, I apologize in advance to the designer because
I think as a standalone design, I actually think it's good. As
yeah.
a celebration of the sovereign, I'm not such a huge fan.
Yep. Yeah. Which I think is fair. Like, funnily enough, we agree again, but
Doesn't happen very
Too
often.
much,
yeah, I know.
too much
Yeah.
agreeing going on here, lads.
Yeah, we don't have the energy for a row today.
Oh, what are you talking about? We're on fire today, mate.
Metal Inquisitor, when are the Asahi gold bars coming in? If not for a while, we'll put in the request to send me my hoard.
Yeah.
Because I think Stephen before was also saying it's when they organise to get their stuff sent that we drop like a really exciting release, and they go, oh no, what am I going to do now?
Look,
Put it in storage. Build it up again.
build it up again. We've got some good stuff being released next week. You guys filmed some stuff today, didn't you?
Yeah.
We did.
I
was exciting.
am excited to see how that came together. Could be really good. Could be really bad. Either way, it'll be interesting. I hope.
Are you allowed to hint at what you unboxed?
I don't know. Well, I'm not the boss, am I? I could. Well, yeah, I guess it's. Well, I will. And then if I get in strife, Ruben, get the technical difficulty button
I'll get
ready.
it ready.
From Arizona. There's your hint. And there was an interesting bit of history that went along with that video. So, if for nothing else, seeing a slightly different style of video be a bit of fun. Please give it a like if you do like it, so Michael sees that, Matt and Ruben aren't complete lunatics for no reason. But yeah, I learned a little bit about a place called Tombstone. There you go. That's all I'm going to say. I think I've just pretty much said the whole thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure what else you can say. Yeah. No, it's so there's exciting stuff like that. There is the Series 2 stuff that we've already talked about.
Oh, so
That'll be out in the
that's next week.
Late next week or early the week after is where I'm hoping for it.
Figure it out, put it in a calendar, set a countdown or something. There's gonna be so many questions about that.
Yeah.
When's it gonna be? You said Thursday, it's now Friday, and
Well, because like I said earlier on, I've been away for pretty much, probably a week and a half now.
yeah,
There are many, many boxes building up in my office.
yeah.
So I will guarantee you there will be releases over the next week and two, and there will be interesting stuff, and something in there will grab your fancy.
No, very good. So get ready. Start your engines.
So my suggestion is get your stuff shipped out that you've got now, and just start building the next lot up.
Yeah, because soon enough you're going to be in the next weight increment, and yeah, be mindful of that as well.
Leg bad. The reason your audio sounds a little odd is because Matt and I are talking underwater.
Yeah, that's actually not.
I'm
Ruben
here-
can't control that.
I'm here in the room with them, and their voices sound a little odd.
That's right. Oh, that's the other thing. This hopefully here we go. Here we go. I'm going to drop
hit it.
I'm going to drop the hint at the big one.
The new store location?
Yeah, well, Tuesday I should be shooting a video that will reveal some.
Oh, great. So we're going to get a blue sky. We're going to have to triangulate the cloud placement to work out where you are.
No, I'm not sure how much we're going to say, but a lot will be revealed, I hope, in the video on Tuesday, which probably will get released kind of Wednesday, Thursday, I'm guessing.
All right. So actual
So there should be some actual hard
information. Okay.
Including some requests for new people to join the Bullion Now slaves.
maybe choice of words a little bit, but yeah, that should be
await that with bated breath.
So if anyone's looking for a change of employment, we're going to be looking for people that have got some experience. We're not looking
at...
we can probably start hinting. In actual fact, one of the primary positions I'm looking for, although there will be others coming out, we'll talk about it over the next week. But if you've got a background in incoming communications, for want of a better word, so we're looking for someone to take up the mantle and manage phone calls, emails, and live chat, because we need that. That's an area where we're letting ourselves down a little bit.
That's the live chat on the website, by the way, not monitoring these streams.
Not these streams. Live. Yeah, that's called live chat, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. I'm just clarifying because we're
on a live
we're
stream
on a live
with a
right
chat
now. Yeah.
Going.
Okay. But yeah, so if you've got experience in that, absolutely send us through your resume to Ruben. Resume. RESUME.
Singular.
Singular.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want you to send in multiple resumes of the same thing.
True.
So resume that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
At bullionnow.com.au.
Put it in the chat now, so you'll be able to see it.
And yeah, we'd be very interested in talking to you.
More details to come about where that job would actually take place, because I'm sure there's a few people, that might be interested going, well, it will depend on if it's in my...
Well, I don't know, maybe I'm dropping you in it now. That could almost be remote. No. Almost. No, don't worry. It's not remote. Don't worry. We'll cut that bit out after the stream.
There may be some flexibility, but it won't be remote.
There you go.
Yeah, so, that's one that's straight off the top of my head. But there's certainly others. I know we certainly need more help in the shop. That one's always a difficult one to fill. So, yeah, don't know. We'll see how we go with that one.
Yep.
And there's other positions. And obviously, if we're opening new store and or stores, we'll require more people there.
Question there. Any idea when the RAM will be releasing the next lot of Antarctic Territory silver 50-cent coins? Love the penguin and humpback whale coins, hoping they aren't canning the series.
Was it a series, though?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Wait, well, I've already said it in past tense, but I don't know if that's...
Yeah, so
I thought that was just one out of the bag.
The penguin and the whale were linked as far as I knew.
But was it to be an ongoing...
As far as I'm aware, and I don't have the inside goss on this one, I'm joining a couple of loose threads together with conversations I had in Berlin. I'm suspecting that it's the end of the road for it. I don't think it's going any further.
Yeah.
But I don't know that definitely, so I could be proven wrong on that.
How many more animals have you got? Polar bear? Fish, maybe?
Elephant seal.
Fish. Oh, okay. All right, there's a few. Maybe. Who knows? Not me. That's a good question.
What are your thoughts on the series in general? I guess, would you like it to continue?
Yeah, all right, here's a bit of nerd trivia for you. My favourite stamp collecting theme is the Australian and Antarctic territories.
They produced some scorcher stamps,
they
didn't they?
So nice. Those landscapes, that kind of thing, the photography, the artistry. I love it. The early stuff, where it was the old artistic interpretations of the early explorers and things like that. And it's a manageable... I feel like I'm plugging it. It's a manageable set in the sense that they didn't make heaps of them the way they did with Australian stamps, where they sort of... The floodgates open and they made a stamp for everything.
Yeah.
It remained a focused area of collecting, and each year you can get just the AAT set, and I absolutely love it. So in coin form, it's a winner for me as well.
I'm not a huge fan.
Oh,
but I
kind of love the cold though. You love Tassie. Yeah. That's as close as you can get without getting your eyes wet.
Right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I reckon it will sway you. I'll show you some of these stamps. Woo, unreal. They did one for snowflakes. It was all icicles and snowflakes and things like that with macro photography. Check that out. You're going to become a stamp collector.
Are you still a stamp collector?
Yes. Not as active as,
Selectively.
not as active as I once was, because it was that, and funnily enough, my nostalgia kick started to rear its ugly head for Pokemon cards.
Seriously?
My wife sat me down and gave me a stern talking to and said, this is not happening. I will not endorse this. So
I can see that from
yeah,
around.
I really tape it off pretty quickly on that. And similarly with the stamp collecting, it was one of those things that, maybe as time goes on, I'll rekindle it. But it's very much like coin collecting. It's a really subjective thing. Different people have different, connections to things, and all of that AAT stuff I really, really love.
There's a question come...
What was the question?
I'll move it.
Okay, carry on.
Question over on Instagram from Bullion Club says, hey guys, what are your thoughts on selling copper as an investment grade product, e.g. minted or cast bars?
I've been on record with this one. I don't like it.
Looks cool though. The Germania bar's wicked. Not practical in that sense though, perhaps.
For me, that's what some of that copper coins, bars and things like that is it's, hey, I really want this design. I don't have the funds for it in silver or gold. And there's a couple of the silver bullet, silver shield stuff that I've picked up in the past in copper, just because it's what I was able to get at the time. It was super cheap, picked up a couple. And I think it works well for that. I'm not a subscriber to the... I'm going to stack this, have this massive allocation of copper that, to sell back when it reaches a certain price, because I think you have to stack tons of it for that to be worthwhile. But yeah,
the chat's getting too far ahead of me here. But there's a lot that I agree with what they're saying on there. So copper is an investment. Look, it is a good investment from that perspective. It's probably one of the few that I would take as paper. I wouldn't stack physically. You need a warehouse if you're going to stack copper. It's ridiculous. And the other thing is, if I was stacking copper, I wouldn't stack copper bars, because the premium on them is too high for what you need. And when you go to sell them, you've got a very limited market to sell them into, unless you're going to sell them for scrap, in which case you've just completely obliterated any premium that you've paid for them. If you're going to stack copper, either, and Matt will probably correct me here and say, copper, like pennies and that sort of stuff are okay, but you need to stack something like copper pipe or something from Bunnings, where you're just not paying that collector premium in it. You're just getting lumps of copper.
Not copper spheres.
Yeah. Copper penny, I don't know, what's the going rate on a copper penny these days?
Not much. Like generally, deals...
Is it almost spottish?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not... There isn't a great deal of collectability to bulk pennies. It's the kind of thing that if you are so inclined and you do get the opportunity, you can get a few kilos of pennies and just dig through it and look out for anything a little out of the ordinary and the key dates and things like that. It can be a bit of fun. Sort of like... and I should preface that with, it's often a fruitless venture.
I was going to say, waste of time.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's probably a more direct way to put it. Much like when I used to soak stamps from... it's therapeutic. You need to go into it with the understanding that you're doing it for the activity is the reward. There you go. So that's my take on it. But fun tidbit, nothing to do with anything really. But when I was leaving Sydney,
never stopped us.
I was trying desperately to declutter and downsize and make the shift back to Melbourne as easy as possible. And a regular customer brought in a 3.5 kilo copper bar and said, there you go, Matt, that's a gift. And I said, all right, it's still there. It's still in the Sydney shop.
Oh,
I
seriously?
said, what am I going to do with this? I can't chuck it in my backpack. I'm already probably over the 7 kilo whatever weight limit. So you've doubled all my carry-on. So I'll get it another day. I must get that. We'll feature it in a stream.
Oh, next when we're up in August.
Yeah. I'll pick it up. That'll be a big occasion. And he even had the kindness to write, 3.5 with a Sharpie on it. So it's weighted.
Having said all of that, and I'm against is too strong a word. I'm not a big fan of copper bars and that type of stuff. Germania produce a magic-looking copper bar, and I'm almost being convinced to bring in another load of them.
Whoa.
Yeah,
What
do
will
it.
it take to tip you over the
Do
edge?
they do
Probably not
other sizes?
much.
Is it just kilos they do
No,
for the
I'm pretty
copper?
sure they do other
They
sizes.
widened it up to other sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do
so-
a copper ounce. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Well, I guess the thing with Germania is they don't do anything bad.
No.
So they could really do any size or style or metal, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So look, keep an eye on the Bullion Now channel. There is, excuse me, there is every chance that we might bring in some copper from Germania. And again, I'm not bringing it in because I think, you should stack this. It'll be because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it, adds flavour to your stack and smiles on your face. So why the heck not?
Mortified.
We got a
Stacker
poll.
Asked for a poll.
Thank you very
Let's
much.
do one.
Great minds.
There was another serious... travels and conversations.
Man, I'll pull it up for you.
Oh, good, because my screen's playing up.
There you go. I can read it out. I am a new collector. Is it too late for me to be able to stack over a 10 to 20 year window? I am just 36.
That's a really good question. And I think, I'll tell you what, I'm 31, and it can often be disheartening to speak with people that are a little older, and when a good example, Robert Kiyosaki always bangs on about how, in the 70s, I was picking up gold eagles for $30, and I was getting ounces of silver for $30. And sometimes that can feel a little disheartening to know that opportunity is not exactly, that opportunity doesn't exist for someone in their 30s or someone just starting out, regardless of what age you are right now. If you're just starting out now, I don't blame anyone for feeling a little bit as though they'd missed the boat when they hear information like that. However, I similarly also believe in I don't know if it's a proverb or whatever the expression is, but it's that, the old expression of the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, the next best is today. I sort of live by that logic of, okay, and when we talk about the prepper mindset of, abbreviation of preparation. So in terms of preparation, it's the same thing. I had this conversation with a friend, it must have been about 10 years ago, and she was saying, I'd like to, and this is unrelated, but it bear with me. She was saying, I'd really like to get into jiu-jitsu, but it takes about 10 years to become really proficient. And I'm 30 now, and it's too far gone. And I said to her, do you want to be 40 and a black belt, or 40 and still talking about how you didn't start this journey? And she did, and that's 10 years ago. She is now a black belt in jiu-jitsu and really, really happy with it and loved the journey and said it's one of the best things she's ever done for herself. And I think in that sense, you need to also, with me soaking stamps, enjoy the journey as well. And if you're involved in stacking and it's bringing you no joy and you don't feel like you're doing the right thing for yourself and your future, perhaps take a step back and reassess it and work out what you're wanting from it. But ultimately, as someone who's in a similar age bracket as to what you've described there, consider what you'll be saying in 10, 20 years' time. If conceivably the price does increase and it becomes a landscape where perhaps people aren't looking at buying kilo bars, everyone's looking at smaller sizes and ounces and saying, that whatever you can get access to and whatever's practical for you at any given time may change in the future, and it may be a lot harder to get what you're getting now. It might, it would have been inconceivable to Mr. Kiyosaki when he was picking up ounces for $30 that it would be over $2,000 in the future. So just bear that in mind, and I'll get off my soapbox.
I think it was a good soapbox.
Thank you.
Look, I agree with what you're saying. And you just go back through the history of anything along those sort of lines. But, you look at precious metals. It's been going up in price over time for generations. It's not like it's, it's not a spike and then it disappears. It's not going to go out of fashion tomorrow. It's not going to evaporate tomorrow. It's not, you haven't missed the boat. Because if you have, I started stacking when I was very early teens. In fact, I was actually pre-teen when I first bought gold. I could have argued I missed the boat back then, and I was paying all of probably $200 an ounce back then.
Yep.
like, had I missed the boat? Well, at the time it felt like it because everyone else had gold. But, I look back now as a 51-year-old and I laugh at that thought because I've seen the growth over the 40 years. The problem is I'm at an age where I can look backwards and say, yes, it was a good idea. You're at the other end of the spectrum. You're looking where you are, looking forwards going, well, should I do it? No one can guarantee you the future. But if you look at the past, mate, absolutely. If you're buying for 10 years, I don't imagine a world where you won't be happy that you've started stacking in 10 years' time.
Yeah, very well put. That's a really good question, though. I like the directness of it. That was a rock solid question. Thanks for asking.
I still go back to a conversation a few years ago where I had someone jumping up and down because there was no way in Australian dollars they were ever going to pay more than $2,000 an ounce because gold will never go through $2,000 an ounce. And yet here we are nudging $3,500 to $4,000 an ounce only a few years later. He thought he'd missed the boat. Actually, it was a she. She thought she'd missed the boat 3.5 to 4 years ago when she was complaining that it would, it'll never go through 2,000 sort of thing. And look, if she'd bitten the bullet, look where she'd be now. And I go back to housing. I go back to a conversation I had when I was a teenager with my father about the price of houses in that area. And, the question asked at that time by me was, have I missed the boat? Should I worry about buying a house? And I can tell you that conversation, I mean, my father's been dead almost 40 years now, but that conversation was many, many years ago. And look at the price of houses now. If I'd gone, that's it, I missed the boat, I would have certainly missed the boat by now.
Yeah.
I like the leader's comment there in relation to that. There's always another boat. You've got to build it 1 ounce at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. The leader, that's spot on.
Now, we're not able to give financial advice, so how would you recommend someone go and do research for Raboy's question there? Would you recommend gold or silver to buy? Gold is at an all-time high, but the gold to silver ratio to 75, whereas the gold to silver ratio was 124 during COVID when gold was still below $2,000. So we're not able to say you should absolutely go buy this or you should absolutely go buy that. But what would you recommend someone start looking at to get an idea about which direction they should go if they were looking at putting money in?
I want to preface this discussion with I'm the guy who got on camera and said during COVID there is no way that ratio will go above 100 to 1.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind with any advice we're about to give you. I was clearly wrong.
You're on the front foot there. I was about to remind you of that as well. So, yeah, perfect.
That's why I'm leaning towards where would you recommend someone start looking for?
Right here.
Okay.
I mean, absolutely.
But they're asking the questions. What would our answer be? Because I'd say we can't really answer that question directly. So where would they pull information from?
This channel. There's a whole catalogue of over several hundred videos that we've done now. And I think that's a really strong starting point. And from there, branch out and look through other avenues and do as much research as you can. There's no limit on how much information you can get. I wouldn't suggest to someone, all right, here's 5 videos you should watch. No more, no less. There is no limit, because what you also need to do is form your own interpretation of the content you're consuming. Don't just watch even our videos and say, okay, well, that's 100% fact. That is the only logical line of thinking, and this is all I will follow. I think everyone, we're all human. We all have our own needs and requirements and circumstances to factor in. So approach this channel as one part of your arsenal when it comes to information, and don't just rely solely on that. Also talk to other people. Look at, as Michael often says, look at conflicting videos, things that say gold's terrible, a really bad investment, and watch that and also form an opinion based on what they're saying. And if there are components of that you take on board and say, all right, well, I see validity in that line of thinking, so it might steer me in a slightly different direction. Maybe I won't look at fractional stuff. Maybe I'll look only at an unallocated program, or whatever it happens to be. It needs to be your decision. So I think what we advocate for heavily here is being financially responsible for your own situation, rather than saying, okay, this is a bullion company, buy bullion, the end. It's much more, and I think when we talk about things like preppers, and it can almost be a whole lifestyle thing. And I think ultimately what we're advocating for is for people to take the time to form their own opinions and form an understanding of what you're doing rather than just blindly following the herd.
Also remember with your research that whatever you're viewing, whatever you're reading, the person that is presenting that, writing that, has an inherent bias. So you're watching a bullion channel right now. I own a bullion store. He works in a bullion store. We have a natural bias with the information we give. Doesn't make that bias, doesn't make the information wrong, but you need to be aware of the fact that they're advocating this, or they may be saying this because of X, Y, and Z. And you need to take that information and then, as Matt said, put it into your own life and your own circumstances and then make your decision from there. There is no wrong decision in this case. Probably, actually, I tell a lie, the only wrong decision, I think, is to do nothing. Make a decision to actually do the research, view channels like ours, go to some sites like the Perth Mint. I'm having a mental blank. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But go to some of the, 5 minutes on Google or YouTube and you'll have, a million different sites that you can visit, excuse me, with information. Read it all, consume it all, but be very careful that you are aware of the biases that are involved, and take that with a grain of salt. But absolutely do the exploration. It may turn out that gold is not the right thing for you, or silver is not the right thing for you, but it may turn out that it is. Also remember that you can ease yourself into this. This is not an or situation. Do I buy or do I not? Do I commit everything to it or not? Do I buy gold or do I buy silver? Feel your way in very, very slowly. And it always worries me. We've mentioned this, 2 is 1. That's another good one. It always worries me in the store when we get people coming in saying, I've got 100 grand, I have to spend it today because gold's going to triple in the next 24 hours. And I hate it because I know within 6 months they're going to be on our doorstep crying, unloading everything, completely burnt because it didn't do what they thought. Buy an ounce, buy half an ounce, buy something that grabs your fancy. So, I like that. I think that's interesting. I'd like to try that, and just ease your way in. Deal with one company, deal with another company, work out which service you like best. Talk to different people both inside the industry and outside the industry, and just, they said this. What do I think? Why did they say that? I think I'll try that advice, but I'm only going to commit a little bit to it. I'm just going to try it out and just see how it plays out over the next month or 2 months or 6 months or 12 months, whatever it is. There's no rush into this decision. So take your time, do your research, but make a clear decision. Don't decide to not make a decision.
Perfect.
Some solid wisdom in this week's stream.
Yeah, there's some ripper questions. This is nice.
We are, however, coming down to the last 10 minutes or so of the stream. We said we were going to end a little bit early, so I was wondering if you wanted to hit any of the articles you'd sent me
why not?
This week.
I actually
I'm not
think
sure which one.
That question that was just asked, and a couple of them. So for all those that don't know, the Australian Financial Review today released what we used to call the BRW 200. So it's probably now called the AFR 200. So it's the richest 200 wealthiest people in Australia. And it caused a very limited discussion, but it caused a bit of a discussion around the office about, I wonder how many of these people had gold or, those sort of investments. And it's interesting reading through. And I don't think you'll see any in there that say, has a stack of gold in storage at Bullion Now or anything along those sort of lines. But a number of them actually mention their investments in things like gold mines and those types of things. And there's one article in there that I haven't quite finished yet where they actually talk about the fact that their investment in the gold mine is actually an alternative investment. They see it as a way of diversification. But it's interesting, and Matt and I were kind of shooting this breeze just before we came on camera, the number of people on the web, the incredibly wealthy, that are quite open about the fact that they do have a cornerstone investment in gold and how it's an important diversification for them, such as...
Kevin O'Leary?
Kevin O'Leary was the one that came to mind when we were discussing it. So it's interesting that when you actually start digging below the surface with some of these incredibly wealthy, not only do they own property and businesses, but quite a number of them also have investments in gold and precious metals. So if it's good enough for them, maybe it's something you need to consider as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question there for you, Matt from Goat. Thoughts on the anniversary release of the Swan dollar?
Oh, super cool. Yeah, that's unreal. I love that. That's such a interesting and iconic Australian coin that never was. So for those that are unaware, in 1967, this was tied into all the excitement surrounding the transition to decimalisation in Australia, and the Australian Coin Review hosted a competition for people to submit their proposed designs for the $1 coin, and that was the winning design. So to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Australian Coin Review, they are restriking that design. So the Royal Australian Mint are actually minting them, but it's not a coin, it's a token. And yeah, I think they're going to be super popular. And yeah, it's an exciting, anytime things like that, you know, bits of Australian coin history are brought back into the fold, like with what the Royal Australian Mint did in 2016 for the anniversary of decimalisation.
Yes.
Like the dollar coins with, you know, the florin, the shilling and crown designs on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're asking a coin guy if he likes a coin that ties into Australian history. It's a slam dunk. I love it. So
Well,
you're going to have to stop me there. It's going to be a long stream.
You're still going to start needing like a separate index for all those, you know, there's token, coins, rounds, medallions, you know, and
it can be very hard to keep up with this kind of stuff. Yeah.
You know,
wafers.
All that's it. All very similar kind of ones.
No one's still given me a definition of what a wafer is, but tax department thinks we trade in wafers.
Really?
Yes.
A nice creamery, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's because they copied from someone else's legislation who copied it from someone else who, long ago. Yeah.
I think cut and paste has got a lot to answer for. The auction apparently is about to finish up on the website.
Really?
It's so out of touch, I don't actually know what we're auctioning.
Probably some bullion, I guess.
One would hope so.
I want to say...
Not a wafer.
I will double check before I actually start speaking about this because it's if it is the one. Yeah. It's a Deak International bar, which has such a
Deak?
Yeah.
Please tell me it's not the one off my desk.
You can bid over at Bullion.
Yeah, Michael's about to blow it out of the water.
Better not be the one off my desk.
Do you know some of the history behind the man behind Deak International, Michael?
No, I'm not going to say it publicly in case I get it wrong because I haven't researched it for a while.
It is a fascinating history. The man was involved with the CIA and was involved in setting up some front businesses for them and things like that. Went bankrupt, and ultimately the kind of kicker to the story was ultimately shot in his office in New York. Him and his receptionist in a the wiki. Obviously, I'm going off Wikipedia, and you know it's
source of all truth.
Exactly, and the way it writes it is, you know, it is theorized that it might have been a CIA assassination, which is, I just think, super interesting and fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm sure he found it interesting too.
Yeah, well,
not anymore.
Particularly the receptionist.
From a history point of view, for you know, we talk about silver and gold that has a bit of a story and you know, history attached to it. Something, you know, spies and assassinations and things attached. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Stephen, we can neither confirm nor deny that it was the one off Michael's desk.
Like I said, it better flame and not be.
Yeah, about to have some technical difficulties on the auction.
That's right. It may get lost.
Are we likely to see any of the New Zealand stags?
I'm waiting for the New Zealand stag firm to get back to me on that.
Nice.
So they're a good-looking coin, though.
Are we talking about some articles here, Ruben?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I was under the impression
I've got them here. I'm not sure which ones we've got here. There was this one that you sent me in relation to boomers and super, and essentially the fact that, you know, a new wave of people have started to cash in on their super, and you know, the impact of that on certain markets and things.
This one stresses me out. I know I'm in the minority here, but this one actually stresses me out. Because we are starting to see the first signs of the fact that more people... Do you know there's more 65-year-olds minted this year than 21-year-olds?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I felt like I was doing my part for society, whereby having my daughter, and someone actually said, they flagged that with me and said, you know, there's we could end up in a situation like Japan where,
Mm.
you don't want, a aging population that isn't being replenished. And it's
Well, the first indications of it in Australian society have now arrived. So we're starting to see some of the super funds that are having more retirees on their books than workers.
Jeez.
So, which doesn't sound like, a big deal, except for when you start thinking about the integrity of the system. So, you're in the system and you're putting money in there like crazy, and then at the other end, they're using that money to pay out me, the retiree. Eventually, there's not enough funds to keep paying me, the retiree, of incoming funds. So now they have to sell some of their assets. So superannuation funds, while they do invest in shares and that type of stuff as well, they also invest in a lot of illiquid funds for the sake of the argument. So now they're trying to sell office blocks in Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane and, big things like that. So all of a sudden, they've got to sell them potentially at a loss, because I have to sell them right now. I can't wait 6 months, 12 months, 2 years to get the best price for them when the market's turned around. So now they sell them for less than what they've got them valued for. So now they're blowing their asset ratio. So now they've got to sell more things out of the superannuation fund to cover that ratio to get it back to where it should be. And all of a sudden we're in this feedback loop where the superannuation fund starts to fold effectively. It's no longer self-sustaining.
And then do we think that the government will step in and make super bucks? All of a sudden there'll be a super buck bail-in? Yeah,
this is I think ultimately that's what's going to happen eventually. But how does a government that is going rapidly broke, and I'm not talking conspiracy theories here. I mean, I live in Victoria. Victoria is on the verge of declaring bankruptcy if you read their books, and they are now trying to slug taxes on wherever they think they can get away with it to try and raise funds. And look, this is absolutely a Victorian thing. This is not just a Victorian thing. This is a national thing, and in fact, I would argue it's a Western world thing. So there's only so much they can do that for, only so long they can do it for before it disappears. There is no money. What do you do then?
Panic.
So what my prediction is, what the government will do is they will step in and say, look, you can't be trusted with your super anymore. We will nationalise it. We will take your super and we will provide you with a pension once you get to X amount of age, and we will administer it. And I think that's where we're heading.
Digital super bucks.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it doesn't seem totally inconceivable.
So this is, look, to me, this is another big red flag. It's something I've been worried about for a while. But this is confirmation. So if you read that article, it does actually list the funds that are having this issue, and it looks at some of the more industry-related funds, and they're saying, well, these ones aren't having the issue at this stage. But that's because the industry funds tend to have younger workers in them. But eventually, 20 years' time, they will transition to a similar problem. So this isn't going to happen tomorrow. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that this is the start of it playing out, and you're going to see it play out more and more over time. And I would suggest this is the time where you need to start looking at diversification away from your standard super. Now, whether that be self-managed super fund, whether that be other investments, whether that be gold, any of those sorts of things, I would say they're the conversations you need to start having now, rather than just putting your fingers in your ears going, this will be fine, I'm retiring in 5 years, it'll all be okay.
We have hit 3:30, Michael.
Well, we still haven't done the other main article.
I know, that's it. There's a couple of others.
And also, said how are we going to get through this?
I think we haven't
motoring
done,
along.
We haven't done
stride.
Haven't hit how many questions in however many seconds. Still got a lot to do. So what are we prioritising for this week? I think Michelle Law is right there. I think they'll start hitting up SMSFs, and we're starting to see the indication of that. Stephen, I know I understand your argument. They realised they couldn't afford the pensions in the first place. So what they've done is, instead of them funding the pensions, which is what was happening, they've now got you to fund it, and then they're going to take your funds back
my prediction is they'll take your funds back in under government control. So they'll still be your funds. You're still providing them. They will just administer it. And I saw this back in the dark ages. I actually worked for the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, and I worked in part of our coverage was in super. And I can tell you back then we were getting major changes to the superannuation law about every 6 weeks. And 3 times now, both sides of Parliament have tried to come up with the reason to nationalise superannuation for nation-building projects. And they are doing it again for the 4th time as we speak right now. So I think it's being a little naive, and I don't mean that offensively, by saying why would they take it back? They will take it back because it's no longer their money. It's your money, and they want it. They want to control it. That's my argument, and I could be completely wrong on this. I'm quite happy to admit that, but as Mental Inquisitor jumped me to it. So government is salivating at the $2 trillion super. There is no government on earth that is not looking at all those super funds going, you little ripper, if only we could get our fingers on these things. So anyway, there was another article which I think is just as important to this because it explains a little bit about where we are with the gold price at the moment.
So it was the article, Grim News from Soaring Gold and Oil Prices.
So this is a reflection on what's happened with gold and oil over the last X number of years and how much it's put on and what that indicates through the economy. But further down in the article, and I love it, and I wish we could pull this apart a little bit more, but it goes on to discuss particularly China, but China, Turkey, and another country, and how they are putting in major buy orders on particularly gold, but gold and oil, and it's purely to diversify away from the US dollar, and it really highlights whether this is not a political statement, this is not a statement on wars going on around the world or any of those things, but it looks at the fact that the whole world observed what happened when Russia invaded Ukraine and what the world's reaction was to that. Now, I'm not condoning what happened over there, but the reaction from the world was to limit Russia's access to the outside world, particularly by restricting the US dollar and its usage.
They just flicked a switch and, all sorts of things came.
And they expected that to have a large impact on Russia. Now, Russia effectively flipped them the bird and said, we don't care, 30% of our resources are in gold. So you guys do whatever you like. It is going to impact us, but it's not going to take our legs out from under us because they had a large investment in gold and oil. China observed that and since then have seriously ramped up their investments away from the US dollar, and Turkey's done it as well, and there's another country mentioned as well, where they've gone, holy crap, if I've got all my investments in, I'm simplifying this massively, if I've got all my investments in the US dollar, I don't control this. Someone else can turn the tap off with, just because they don't like the way I look today. I'm going to take some of those investments. I'm still going to hold US dollars because I need to, but I'm also going to start considering holding gold and oil so that if ever that happens to me, it's not going to cut the legs out from under me. And that's a lot of what that article is about. And while it's not the lead part of the article, it's certainly in the last third, which is where quite often you find the good guts in articles. It's actually quite a lot of what it's talking about. So if countries...
That's actually where I pulled the screenshots from, is that last little bit of it for that reason.
If countries are starting to observe that and governments are starting to observe that, again, I come back to what I said earlier, maybe it's time that we started to think about that and about who controls our assets and how and what happens if the tap's turned off. We talk reluctantly in the bullion industry about being debanked. We're all terrified of it. But can you imagine from your side, where you're sitting right now, if you received a letter tomorrow, Monday, if you received a letter on Monday to say, we're closing your bank account, you are no longer welcome to bank with us any longer. And just think about how that would impact on you personally. It's a bit of a downer to finish on, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
wow. Get ready for the weekend.
Nah, let's hit some rapid fire questions. I think right before we end it, because we can't end on it's a serious note, but
Yeah.
I like ending on a bit more of a it's the weekend, we've done it, you know.
And speaking of tabs, my nose is running like one. So let's get going.
Inflation. You see the uptick in inflation?
No, I didn't. I'm
So-
just to know that I'm always getting absolutely blitzed at every turn, whether it's the price of my sandwiches or my wife just said, "Oh, daycare's gone up $15 a day." I thought, ripper.
$15 a
Great.
day.
Yeah, unreal. How good?
Inflation's moved to 3.6%. So it's $15, 3.6%.
It's probably closer to 10.
So I don't know where they
yeah.
smoke this 3.6 from,
Well,
but
certainly not daycare fees or price of a sandwich.
my
It's-
insurance policies.
Yeah, yeah, insurance, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it must be a very interesting basket of groceries that they've come up with.
Selective, I think, is the word.
Yeah. From one of their mates' supermarkets.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see that the CPI has turned direction, and they're actually admitting the fact that the worm's turned, and it's actually pointing uphill again, not downhill, which is what they were saying. So interesting to see how that'll play out over the next month or two. But I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people are now calling for interest rate increases instead of decreases.
Wonderful. Great.
Aussie girl, is the gold to 3,000 referring to US prices or a drop here? That was something else we're going to be talking about in a separate video, but we didn't get time today because we're on a little bit more of a rush. Mortified Stacker, any pant bars coming? Not to a New Sydney store. I'm not saying the last bit of that question. Any new pant bars coming?
They are in the process of being ordered.
Do you recommend immigrating from the Western world? We were talking about, Australia and its problems with super. Is it time to get out of Australia?
No, I don't think it's time to get out of Australia. I still think if it's not the best, it's certainly one of the best countries in the world, despite all its problems, and it has many. But I would strongly suggest that you consider multiple passports.
New stock coming in.
Yes, heaps.
So, yeah, we mentioned something out of a certain place earlier, out of the US. And yeah, still holding fire on some of the lunar stuff, as well as something from Germania.
Stephen, every day you'll see new box openings coming because they're arriving faster than we can release them at the moment.
Anything out of RAM?
No, not in a bullion sense.
I think they're struggling to keep up with mint sets,
Yeah.
just with all the demand.
When does a new release stop being new? I think referring to our list of new releases that kind of, as something new comes in, it pushes something old off. So
Yeah, I think that usually sticks around for about a month, I think, on the new list.
Gilded Cooks ETA for Little Coin Shop.
I want to say they're next month. They're very soon, I'm fairly sure.
Due to higher prices, have you had an increase in buybacks in the past month?
Yeah, it's been funny. The short answer is yes, but it's been a mixed bag of variety of buybacks. It's been odd. All sorts of funny things come through.
Aaron, we kind of keep some of that stuff separate, so yeah, won't be hitting that one. I think that's we've gotten to the bottom of the list. That's normally my metric of we've beaten it. Why no more live stream auctions?
Time,
Yeah.
resources,
Yeah, planning,
Yeah.
organisation.
Yeah, those things that we seem to be missing at the moment.
Any end of financial year deals?
Not that I'm aware of currently, but we certainly do. I know Ads and I had the conversation earlier this week that we've got to clean out a lot of the odds and sods that we've got. So you'll probably see some interesting things hitting the website or available in store over the next month because we don't want to count them. We just want them gone. And yeah, we do buy constitutional silver when it comes through the door, but we don't get much.
Yeah, we used to see it come through a little bit more regularly than I'd say we do now. Yeah, I think we're done. Drew Murray, remember when streams went overtime by an hour, or do we need to get back to that? This week we're cutting a little bit short because
we're still
Matt
gearing
and
up that
Michael,
24-hour stream.
Matt and Michael are a little
There's
bit.
a sale we should have. Michael's desk sales.
Yeah,
If you saw the amount of crap on my desk,
That
unbelievable.
may or may not include a Deak International bar.
Better fly.
All right. Calling it quits there for this week. Thank you very much, guys. I think it was a good one. Thank you for soldiering through despite both your
Got there.
not tip-top shape, but we got there. Hopefully you'll be back more fighting fit for next week. Got
We
a
will be.
couple of really cool videos coming for next week that I'm excited to get out, so stay tuned for them. Anything else we need to hit for this
Like,
week?
share, subscribe, even if it's out of sympathy.
Yeah, please. So we've earned it.
Sympathetic ones.
That's right. Because we're dead.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. As always, we appreciate it, and we will see you next week.
So
Yeah.